Alright dudes, how you doing? It's Rabea again. I hope everyone is good today. So this is a cool video. I thought, you know, again I'm back by myself in the flat, you know, everyone's still away, and just had a cool idea. Because I know that, you know, Rob is a big fan of Orange Amplifiers, and that, as we've all know, is his Dark Terror that he's had for a very long time. And this is the cool outer casing that Zilla made for him, Zilla Cabs. So I also noticed that he did a review not so long ago of the Dual Dark, which is the 100 watt sort of Dark Terror, sort of the mother of those amplifiers, nice big chunky powerful 100 watt version. And we also reviewed it with Andertons, and something that I noticed, that obviously that's 2 channels as opposed to the Dark Terror, which is 1 channel. However, channel B on the Dual Dark is essentially the Dark Terror. It's got the same amount of controls and functionality. So what I wanted to do was a little shootout video to see, do you get more bang for your buck getting the Dual Dark or the Dark Terror? Basically, I know that's 15 watts and the Dual Dark is 100, but really a 15 watt valve amplifier live, you don't need to worry, that's more than loud enough. And you can switch it down to 7 if you want. Firstly, I wanted to test if it sounds the same, the second channel on the Dual Dark and the Dark Terror. And secondly, I wanted to work out, do you get more value for your money getting the Dual Dark 100 or a Dark Terror? Because obviously that's 2 channels, you got another channel with more tonal variation, and you know, essentially it's louder. But we'll find out. We're starting with the Dark Terror. I've got this Swampash ML1, and I might need to change this guitar because the strings look very old, but let's just have a little play. So here we go. I'm going to put it on the 7 watt setting. Okay. Cool. To be honest, like, again, I don't have a lot of experience with Orange amplifiers, especially the Dark Terror being such a simple layout. You've got volume, shape and gain. Now what shape is obviously, it's kind of like the same idea as the ISF, I think that's what they call it, on the Black Star range. And what it is like, on one side you've got the more MIDI, kind of mid-heavy, and then on the other side it's a bit more bassy and scooped and like almost American, I guess. So on the left hand side you've got British, right hand side you've got American. And somewhere in the middle you get all the scooped fizz. So if I put shape at 12 o'clock, this is what you get. And personally for me that's too fizzy. I'm running into a cab with V30 style voicings. Again, love this cab, and it's quite transparent what amp you put in front of it, as you may have heard with the other videos we've done recently. But yeah, for me the shape works best, I suppose, just about 8 o'clock. Drop my pick. It's nice and saturated, it's got a barky sense to it, barky tone even. And again, we can roll off the gain a bit. put a spark on. It's nice. So yeah, I mean, it's such a simple amplifier. There's not much to say about it. You've got an effects loop. You can have 15 watts, 7 watts, and it's loud, and you could gig with that easily. No foot switch, but again, it's just that kind of one channel, you know, just let's balls out, let's just go for it kind of sound. Metallica, Master of Puppets, great tune, great album. I can't downpick like James Hetfield, so feel free to comment. Oh, Beer can't do the thrash metal thing, it's cool. Great album. I mean, that was one of the first sort of shred guitar albums I ever heard. I was about 14, 15, sort of around the time I started playing guitar. Wicked album, well inspired me. Anyway, moving on. So we've established that I like the shape over the other side. And that is the Dark Terror as far as I'm concerned. Again, one more thing just for anyone that wants to know if it cleans up. It cleans up, it's a nice amplifier, personally not for me, but again it can do a lot, and there's one setting that I do like on it, so again I could use that live, could enjoy myself with that, especially with some stomp boxes on the ground, and it's got an effects loop so I can't really complain, and it's not a bad sounding amplifier. So it's 400 quid for the amplifier by itself. It's pretty good. I'd say it's a good valve gigging amplifier that can switch down to a lower wattage for playing quietly, and it has, again, quite a wide range in tone. 400 quid, not bad. And that's from Anderton's as well, so if you want one, go to Anderton's. But anyway, now I'm going to hook up the Dual Dark, and we're going to try out both channels, and we're going to have a quick go with that, and then test the second channel and see what it's like. So bear with me, I will be back with the Dual Dark in a second. Okay, so I've plugged the Dual Dark into the Panama, and just waiting for it to warm up. So straight away, the first thing I notice is it weighs a ton. It's ridiculous. So for me, straight away, I'd much prefer to lug this around than that. On the back, you can choose 2 output valves or 4. I've selected 2, and we're going to be on the sort of low output setting again, because I'm in a flat, and that's the fairest demonstration I can give you. I've used this on the low setting, I'm going to use that on the low setting with the less power output valves, and that will give us a closer representation of the second channel. We're going to start with the second channel, all in the benefit of continuity. I've set the settings exactly the same, so we've got the gain at 2 o'clock, which is just right. The shape is just about 8 o'clock, and we're going to put the volume again about 8 o'clock. So it's been warming up now. Let's go ahead and find out if this sounds the same as Dark Terror, because that's essentially what it's claiming to be, in my opinion. Could be wrong, but that's what I think. This guitar is great. So instantly, the first thing I noticed about Channel B on Dual Dark is that it's almost boxier actually. That's more open sounding on the same settings. Maybe that's because I'm using 2 output valves, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to use 4. Right, now we're using 4, it's probably going to be louder. Cool. It plays really good actually. It's really nice. Personally, I actually never tried loads of oranges out, especially not at loud volumes. What I would say is it doesn't, again, even though we're using 4 output valves, it might sound different under the microphone, but in the room it's not got the same open tone to it, in my opinion. So let's mess with the shape setting, see if it reacts the same. Yeah, it still does the same fizzy thing that I just do not like personally. Again, this is all down to personal preference. Amplifiers, gear, music, it's all the same principle. It's all what you think. Personally, I really don't like the fizzy tone to it, so we're staying over on the left hand side. Anyway, so for me, Channel B compared directly with the Dark Terror, the Dark Terror wins for tone, personally. I think maybe because it's a smaller wattage amp, so you're getting more saturation. That's probably what it is. It sounds more open. Whereas the Dual Dark, it's 100 watts. We're using it on the half setting, so it's 50 with 4 output valves. If I cranked it, that obviously would sound much bigger, but I can't do that. When you're playing a gig, 100 watts is too much. Even 50 watts, you can't really crank it because the sound tech will just tell you to turn it down. So practically, and in my opinion, logically, that wins again because it's smaller wattage. You can get that open, saturated sound at lower volumes, and sound tech's not going to tell you to shut up. So, for me, practicality-wise, still it's winning. Let's try Channel A. The volume is all the way up then. Right, so here we have got a dedicated EQ on Channel A, so let's see what we can get from it. I'm going to put mid 1 o'clock, bass 12, treble 12, gain 1 o'clock, and volume pretty low. These strings are so old, my fingers are sticking to them. Anyway, channel A. I went straight for a kind of lead tone because again it's a bit fizzier than what I would personally like to hear, and I think that might open up when we turn it up. But what I'm going to do is turn the attenuator up. That's something that's cool about this amp. We have an attenuator so you can get those saturated tones at low volumes. So attenuator is at 12. So even with the attenuator halfway up and the volume then on channel A being at halfway, so you're driving it a lot harder, still got that fizzy tone for me. Again, let's hear it clean up a bit. So I had to roll the gain off. When I rolled the volume down, it did clean up, but when you turn it back up, you don't have that dynamic control. I had to push a tube screamer in, put the spark on to give me that kind of bite that I was after. But yeah, you know, I love amplifiers, I love gear, and I have to be honest with it, because like at the end of the day I have to put it into context and think, what am I going to use this for? Am I going to use this? Is it going to help me? Is it going to help me sound the way I would like to sound on stage or even on recording? And my answer for this is probably not, personally. I mean, it doesn't have that tone that I'm after. Now again, I'm completely aware that I can't turn it up all the way, and I know valve amps are meant to be cranked and that gives you that open tone, but it's got an attenuator, so I did try to use that, put that into context. It doesn't give you a clear enough example, but still it will help give you a simulation of what it would sound like cranked. Still didn't have that tone I was after. Channel B sounds better than channel A in my opinion. Let's go back to B. It's just got that open. It's just a bit more open than channel A, less fizz, it's a bit more punchy. But again, I'll plug the Dark Terror back in and then we'll get to hear what that sounds like in comparison to that. So remember this sound. So I've plugged it back in, it's just warming up again. But we'll get to hear it straight away in comparison, so here we go. Hands down, that wins. Dark Terror, it's got tons more life to it. It's not as boxy, it's more open. It just gives you that just valve grunt. And I know it's because it's on 7 watts, but the tone will still stay the same. All that the power tubes do is just open up the sound more, but the tone is the same. It doesn't change. The funny thing here is, at £399, this is a great gigging amplifier with an effects loop. You can have your stump boxes on the ground. You can take some of the gain off there, so essentially you'd have 2 channels where you engage the stump box. It's a great sounding amplifier. It's loud enough for gigging. It's going to be able to be cranked without the sound tech getting pissed off. £399. The Dual Dark channel B is supposed to be the same as this. Sounds more boxy. It's a little bit more fizzy. Channel A is tons more fizzy. You have an attenuator. It's not a bad sounding amplifier, don't get me wrong. I'm just doing a comparing. I'm just being brutally honest what I think. So channel A, with the attenuator on, you can crank up the volume, but you still have that sort of fizzy tone. It's an amplifier at 100 watts that you really need to crank, even using it on half power. But it's £1,579. So it's more than 3 times the price of the Dark Terror. You know, if you've got the money and you want something more versatile, because again, you've got foot switches on this, you don't have foot switch on this. You know, you've got the choice between 2 or 4 output valves, tons more features, it's got an attenuator, 2 channels. So if you've got the money to splash out, you like the orange tone and you need more versatility, then by all means, the Dual Dark 100 is probably the amp. It's near 1,600 quid. For £399, you can have, in my opinion, a better tone. It's easier to carry around, it's lighter, don't have a foot switch, but you can then compensate by having your own pedal board in the loop and in front, and then emulate a 2-channel amplifier, and it's tons cheaper. So the conclusion of this video, of this shootout, is, in my opinion, the Dark Terror wins over the Dual Dark, and it sounds better. So yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I hope this video was a little bit insightful and not too opinionated. I do try and be as diplomatic as possible, especially with gear reviews, because I do understand that there is something for everyone out there. So with that in mind, I do try and keep my mind open towards different tones and different, you know, sounds and stuff. But when you've got something so similar here, but with such a big price difference, I have to sort of go, hang on a minute, what is going on here really? What do I really think? And I thought I would share that with you. So yeah, all comments welcome, good or bad. Again, it's just a gear demo, so hopefully it's cool. Anyway, I will be back very soon. So I hope you enjoyed this. I'll catch you around.